Hey everybody, welcome to Houdini Hangout on the 8th of February. Thanks for joining me live tonight. Yeah, got some a little bit more of a casual evening plan. Don't have something super specifically um, outlined. I put up a poll on Twitter, and it looks like you guys were interested in seeing some more of the Formula One project that I've kind of been cooking up and doing a little bit here and there. So yeah, I think we were just going to work on that and kind of go through it. Um, if people are interested, I can kind of walk you through. Hey, how's it going, Moo? Um, so if you guys are interested, I can kind of just walk you through some of the data stuff. One of the interesting things I did in this project was I actually brought in some CSV data that I wrote out from a Python interface that I'm a fan of Formula One, and so I was kind of looking into it and seeing what information was out there, and there was actually a way to grab a bunch of their data from races and things like that. Um, so I was basically using a CSV file to import all that. So I can kind of like show you guys that a little bit. We can kind of screw around with the project a little bit, kind of keep building on it, and yeah. So why don't I walk you guys through a little bit of what I'm doing in the project. A few streams ago, kind of when I first started this, I had streamed like putting together all this map data here, and I can show you that in a second. But yeah, so this was kind of the first thing I did as like a proof of concept. So I kind of have this different data here from a track in Qatar, or Qatar, I believe is how you say it. And it would just so happen to be the race that was the week that I was starting this, basically. So I just kind of was like, well, let me see if I can grab the data from this week and start, messing around with it. And so this map data here was gathered from Mapbox, from the labs Mapbox. Hey, Crossfader, how's it going, man? So Labs made this really nice kind of encapsulation of all these different Mapbox assets and things like that. Super, super helpful for a project like this, especially just with these like offsets here. So pretty much all I did was put these all as so like the one kind of drives it, and all the rest have references as to what their latitude and longitude are and things like that. So so basically this is our kind of like main driving map box, and then from there it kind of grabs all these different tiles. Each of these individual pieces here are one tile, of that overall map interface here. So let's see, there you go. You can see all the different tiles and stuff like that that kind of make up the high resolution image of the track. Those are all just height fields. And those have the visualizer that kind of is on those and actually loading that image onto them. So that's just right in the height field data. But anyway, so this was kind of my starting point. And then the next thing I started messing around with was the lap data. So you can see here I've got some, I don't know if you can kind of see there, I've got some cars that are zipping around the track. And what I used for this, obviously that's not how they actually race around the track. What I used for this was their qualification data, which all technically they're kind of all bunched together at the very start, and then they spread out over laps and turns and things like that. I kind of wanted to create a visualization for that, post qualification, just to see kind of how people performed and stuff like that. It's a little bit nerdy for race people, but so that is kind of interesting because that's where the CSV information comes in. So I have, let's see, I can actually load up my Visual Studio here, and I can show you That's my that's just my environment for Houdini. Let's see here. Let me open up that folder, and I can show you how kind of how this looks. I think it's there. Yep. So basically what this does is does a whole bunch of kind of Python stuff in the background here. You can see some of the code. It basically is just pulling out things like the fastest lap. It's loading in a couple different um, uh, modules or whatever. I can't think of the specific term. I just recently learned Python, so I'm not super fluent in it or anything like that. But anyways, so basically it pulls out some fastest laps, some each driver and different things like that, and writes it all out into a CSV file that then has all the data spelled out in it. So those files, let me just show you that so you can kind of understand what's going on here without me explaining too much here, or just explaining it. You can actually visually see it here. So I should have it in here. Yep, 2021 cutter. And so, for example, these are each driver right here has their own lap data that is written out in CSVs. So, for example, this is the this right here is like its X, Y, and Z coordinates, times, things like that. So these are all written out in there as three, as like a vector position right here. So I've got this all. It's written out in integer values, but it's specific enough to be able to get a decent position out of it. And so you can see that the timing is pretty short here. There's a few slices per second. So I mean, it's not the smoothest data in the world, but it's pretty smooth. And so these CSVs here are all individually loaded in here. So I actually get one CSV that's got all the results in it, then another one here that looks at it kind of builds off of some of the data that's coming in from this first CSV right here. And bringing in things like track position and speed and converted for you. I'm not sure what you're mentioning, what you're talking about there, Shrubber. This isn't what I converted for you. I don't know what that means. But anyways, so the so basically all of this information here gets pulled in for each driver and loaded in. And here, this basically draws out, the path that they're taking along the track here. And I take the race track here, the data with all like the height information. This is obviously in a desert, so it's pretty flat. But it raise it to that geometry, and then from there does some resampling. I think it smooths each of those a little bit just to kind of make sure there's no like crazy jagged like little turns or whatnot. And then it ends up extracting points from those curves there over time. So you get all these different points right there on the curve, and you can see those kind of go around. And then more or less I just use those to pull out their names, and they're all these cars here are colored based on drivers, teams, and things like that. So those are all being pulled out from that information, colors and all sorts of things like that. So I eventually will have, I want to have their names on it and that type of thing. But so this is kind of the part of it where all the like kind of the actual race data comes from. And I actually at one point here, I have this attribute wrangle here that basically sets a leader parameter. So it's actually it's giving like the position of the leader, vehicle. And up here in our camera level, I actually have it so that oh, no problem. No problem. Yeah. No, I don't think, no, you didn't convert any models for. I curious. No, not me. Um Not that awkward. No problem at all. Um um so yeah, so this, if we take the camera here, it actually, I think this is kind of the view that I want to more or less work on. You can tell that the data is a little noisy just based on how they kind of move back and forth. And I'm not 100% sure. I think the jumps are from interpolation on their end of things. So unfortunately, some of those things I can't fix too much. But you can see here how, the lead cars and stuff like that pull away, and it's pretty interesting looking kind of from this angle. You can kind of see, all the turns that they're taking and things like that. The biggest thing I kind of have to work on as far as like this for this view is getting the curbs and lines and things like that into the track so you can see it a little bit better. Unfortunately, when you're really up close to it, this geometry does sort of break down a little bit. It's not, unfortunately not the best, it's not the highest resolution satellite imagery and stuff. So just a little blurry when you look at it super up close like this. So yeah, so that is more or less the concept that, I'm kind of trying to build off of and go with from there. I don't know if anybody else has done anything like this before. But it certainly has been an interesting learning experience for me, and kind of just trying to build this pretty decently like huge project, one piece at a time. So yeah, let me show you, let's kind of just go into the, into one of these nodes here, just so you can see these as well. This will be the first race of this upcoming year. So, the one neat thing that you get from these Mapbox nodes is you can actually get Openstreetmap data. So I've cached these all out into different, at these cache nodes. So these are all saved out, so I don't have to really load too much for them. But if we come down here, you can actually see that these maps will write out curves and things like that from OpenStreetMap data. And obviously this is super helpful to be able to kind of figure out where things are, geographically, and like get some geometry to build off of and things like that. So they have buildings in there and stuff like that. For this specific map, it's not super helpful, but if we go to something like Melbourne here and look at this, this one's kind of neat because you get all these buildings around it and stuff like that. So a pretty neat, tool to be able to kind of bring these elements in. I mean, even get the golf course right here, which is kind of interesting. But and this all comes from this labs Mapbox node right here. So right out here, it out of this port, it puts out the OpenStreetMaps data. And there's a whole bunch of, there's a couple different settings in here that you can set up and have it obviously snap to the terrain and things like that. You can do some resampling and things of that nature, but it's pretty robust data that comes out of here. And it's taking a second to load, so I shouldn't have probably clicked on that. No, there we go. The cool thing too is if you look at like our geometry spreadsheet here and go to the polys, you can see how many different columns of data there is, addresses and all sorts of crazy stuff in here, what kind of buildings they are. I mean, just tons and tons of different pieces of data. So, it's a lot to be able to use. Now, granted, in building a racetrack, it's not maybe the most robust, but it certainly is a cool thing. And in fact, there's a place where it even will say stuff like street name or something like that, and it I think there's something like that, but it's kind of hard to see. There's so many columns here, but it'll actually say like racetrack for those columns, so it's kind of interesting to see. But yeah, so I don't know if anybody's ever done anything similar to this with like map data or anything. I mean, obviously, I'm guessing probably not doing Formula One related stuff, but this is obviously at a very starting stage for building some of these elements and stuff like that. But um, yeah, let's see here. Let's go in to. I just want to kind of refresh myself a little bit here. Let's look at this track that I was kind of building here. I was gonna get kind of build up a few different layers here. One layer of the asphalt tarmac here, and then starting to get in like walls and barriers and things like that around it. Fortunately, I'm not like the best, at modeling and things like that, but I figured I'd give it a shot and see what I could make up. So, I mean, there's some obvious intersections and things like that there, but yeah. So let me look in here. So yeah, I actually drew these two. It's just a personal thing that I'm working on. It's just looking to put together a Formula One visualization thing that I could maybe share online or something like that. It's just something to entertain myself, and wasn't anything paid or whatnot. But thanks for the follow, by the way, Shrubber. Appreciate it. Um, and yeah, I just kind of was coming up with an idea for, I was like, I wonder if I could get any information from the tracks. I know yeah, I my sister actually got me interested in Formula One. I used to watch a lot more racing back when I was younger, and she was like, "Oh, you should watch this documentary and all that stuff." And so that really got me kind of interested again. I'm sure that's pretty common with a lot of people, especially in the U.S. I don't think a lot of people watched. Drive to Survive. It's killer. It's a great show. But I think from the standpoint of just like watching it for the engineering and stuff like that is a pretty interesting you know angle to look at it. I'm not so much into all the drama and stuff like that. Oh, cool, crossfader, cool, nice. You converted stuff for nice. Um, yeah, so let's take a look at this here. I think what I was doing was drawing um these curves here. I kind of got to remember a little bit. Um, yeah, so I've got the Openstreetmap data. So yeah, I think I tried a couple different ways to do this. So I was actually able to get the fencing information from here. I was able to actually bring in the Openstreetmap stuff and just subtract that fence out of it. So let me see if I can I'm going to start doing that with some of these other ones here, and we can kind of work through it. So I'm going to make a new geo node. Start putting these together here. Oh, quite a bit of yeah. It's actually really simple, especially if you use to extrude the data from the OpenStreetMap stuff. It's actually it's really pretty straightforward here. I'll show you once I load in the in this right here. So this is going to be Bahrain, and I'll do. All right, I'll just do track. And yeah, let me object merge that in. All right, so a lot of nodes here. All right, so let me grab the Bahrain map data, grab the OpenStreetMap data. There it is. And yeah, so I believe if we go into the labs pack here and go into, which one is it? think there's an OpenStreetMap one here. Let me see. Yeah, there it is. OSM buildings. Excuse me. If you put that down and just connect these together, we should. Oh, yeah. See, that one actually only grabs. Oh, that's weird. Let's see. Yeah, so there you go. Unfortunately, it's not loving this data here for whatever reason from this specific spot. It might just be the part of the world, they might that it's kind of in the middle of a desert, like I said, but that one's kind of more basic. But if I go up here to, let me just pull in the Melbourne one, because that one has a ton of data. So yeah, there you go. You can see all the buildings. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous how easy that is to do, It's pretty cool from that standpoint. I'm not really planning on obviously doing anything to anymore. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Not really looking to do anything more than just have maybe some shapes in there. But yeah, it's nice to be able to get that much information in like 2 nodes. Now, granted, it took a little bit of screwing around with figuring out how exactly the Mapbox thing works, but let me see here if I can. Mapbox. I don't know if I have my API key saved in here. I don't. Let me grab that real quick. So I can just show you how to simply pull this up. So I signed up for this Mapbox account. It was free. You can get a bunch of you can get a bunch of free what do you call it? Free connections and things like that. Yeah, there we go. Cool. That's working. I guess I won't show that since it has my public key on it, my public access token. Probably not the best. Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, you've used it before for for terrain generation. Yeah, it is really great. I mean, this node is super helpful. So, have you used this Mapbox node before in Houdini? Cool. Yeah, I'm just shocked at how straightforward it is to use. So, pretty much. Oh gosh, yeah. I guess there's my key. Should probably hide that. Oops. Anyways, where is? Yeah, here. So you do the lookup right there. It brings up the map, and yeah, you can pretty much grab a map of anywhere. So I'm from Western New York, so I'll just do that. How about that? So here's Niagara Falls. Let's grab Niagara Falls. So all you do is hit download right here. It'll put it into a cache location, and I will give it a second here to load up the data. I might have picked too wide of a shot there. That's a lot of buildings, but we'll see. Give it a second. So yeah, so this is gonna put there's local download paths that you can set up and adjust and things like that. I think I tweaked mine a little bit for the other nodes that I had created, but for this, this one's just gonna put it right into the default path. I should have zoomed in more. It's gonna take a second. You get to just sit and watch the wheels spin around. But yeah, so the cool thing obviously about this is you get the visualizer of the actual just like a Google Earth style view of it, and it'll just pull the data right in, create the height fields and the set everything up for you. I had used some there we go. I'd used some DEM stuff before, and it was kind of just a pain to like work through everything. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, there's Niagara Falls. It's obviously not the highest resolution stuff, and it doesn't perfectly match up 1-to-1, but yeah, there you go. Little Niagara Falls gorge action right there. And so yeah, so if we look at these two outputs here, we can see this will be our OpenStreetMaps information right there, and then this will be our terrain. And so the reason that I actually did it at two different levels like that and tiled the one was because, obviously the further out you are, that kind of defines, in this node specifically, it defines the resolution of your image data. And I couldn't find inside of the node where that information was like being saved out. I dug through it a little bit and couldn't find it. So I just kind of worked around it. And so that's why I have two different Mapbox nodes in these here, because this is bringing in kind of my overall kind of general look of things. So I actually have two different, I have just the standard height field here for everything. And then I have my high quality, like really higher resolution stuff that I can use to like look at and see, better details. And then like you go to this one and it's pretty blocky. So that was what I was doing there. So yeah, so that's kind of how the node works. It's pretty slick. Anyways, let's bring in that Bahrain data here. This, if you go back, I have a stream that I was like going through and grabbing all these different map datas and stuff like that, and I just absolutely love looking at maps too. So this was kind of a fun, yeah, the OSM labs. Yeah, the labs, they have a couple different nodes in there. The buildings one, which are the ones that work. Yeah, you can use this filter. You can use the OSM import node. Yeah, the filter, I'm not sure. Yeah, that'll just take out certain elements from it. So yeah, you can select certain data from it, and also the if I go to, let me pull up that Bahrain data again. Sorry, map data. If you use the labs road generator, I believe this works on this data as well. I'll want to filter though, I think. OSM filter. So if I take out the buildings and just do the roads, let's do the others, I guess. Well, yeah, there's not really many roads here, are there? So if I throw those in there and then use the road generator, that it'll take a second. It's going to have to load up some different data here, but that'll build out, paths and things like that from that road data and do some intersections and stuff like that. It's not like the cleanest thing in the world, especially with racetracks. Not the cleanest thing in the world, but like these here are not bad, for intersections and stuff like that. You might need to go and do some cleanup and things like that, but there's a lot of really cool what is it, like different adjustments that you can make in here for the just changing like the resolution of these corners and stuff like that. Now I guess I shouldn't probably screw around with these too much, because each time it's gonna take how many seconds to recook this one's got a lot of a lot of data on it. But let me see if I take off the other, that can probably, yeah, there you go. These are more normal roads here, I guess you could say. So yeah, you get some pretty nice, intersections and things like that from them. And there we go. You can actually see what it's doing there. So you can adjust how round those curves are and things like that. And it's a really nice node. Sometimes you push it a little too far and it just totally goes bananas like that. But there's some tutorials on sideeffects.com that actually I think go over this, or somewhere online that I saw. And I actually built a city builder, basically. That might be a cool thing to do sometime here, is like talk about that process. I basically had it packs predefined buildings into a city grid layout. So it was a long project for a client and was totally unnecessary, because I ended up having to place them all by hand because the client was a pain. But yeah, anyways, live and learn. Yeah, so the one really fun fact that I found out about doing something like that is that the trying to figure out a how to pack a defined set of buildings into like shapes, boxes, whatever, into a defined set of containers is actually like an it's a solvable problem on a certain level, but on another level it's like one of those, it's there's like different levels of math problems, and it's one that basically they were saying was like you could solve it but you had no idea how long it would take to like to calculate, because it's like such a crazy process. There's no like formula to like help you pack defined things into other, like there's formulas to like divide up spaces and like have like optimal packing in certain scenarios with like one box or like, you know, but when you have just like a this like smattering of different buildings, we were using like kit bash buildings just to make like, it was just like a background city thing. And so putting them all in was it was a pain. I worked on it for like weeks and weeks and then didn't need it anyways. um yeah, so I should not have deleted that. That was a mistake. Escape, please. Okay, so let's look at this here and see if we have any of that fencing data, because that is kind of a good place to start, to kind of start defining this space. I can actually turn on the map underneath and we can kind of look at it that way as well. So let me hide these. Oh. So yeah, this kind of helps you see what's going on here, and this is where my hopeful slight knowledge of Formula One, I think I can remember what the path is through this, because this is kind of a maze of track. So yeah, it goes this way, here, around, I think, back this way, and like that. I'm pretty sure that's the path. So yeah, let me see if I can. This is a little easier to see because there's way less polygons here. There's only 204. Oh, that's cool. We got some non-Unicode maybe characters there. That's kind of fun. Let's see. Raceway. So it's highway, highway, raceway. So let me pull those out and see. And there should also be maybe a fencing one. Let me see if I can find that here. Watch someone search through a spreadsheet. So I'm actually really big into space flight as well, and my wife always laughs at me because she'll come in sometime and I'll be sitting there watching these rocket launch test scenario things that SpaceX is doing, and it'll literally just look like a tank just sitting out in the middle of like Texas, and my wife will be like, "What are you watching? Are you just looking at this tank venting?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's kind of me." So because people watch weirder things online than people looking at spreadsheets. But all right, so it doesn't look like they have any of the fencing data in here, but let's pull out the track at least, so we can kind of start whittling this down a little bit. So I'm just gonna blast out the raceway first of all. Delete that non-selected. There we go. Let me get the go-kart track. Okay, so we got the raceway there. That's good. And let me see if there's anything else here that I can pull out, because I forgot that they changed this. This is kind of a nice new thing that they put in here for, being able to like pull out, different attributes and stuff like that, like different unique attribute values, basically. Oop, what did I click on? Let's see here. Let's see if there's any. Oh, there we go. Fence. Perfect. That's actually what I was looking for. And there's none. There's a couple over here. Darn it. Oh, well. Yeah, there's a couple pieces of fencing over there. All right. Well, that's not going to get us anywhere. So let's see here. So what I would do for this, then kind of the next step to start building out this track would be to start, basically drawing curves, around the outside of this, because really it changes in a lot of ways from one side to the other. So I'll use this as my guide just to be able to kind of see where things are. And let me bring in the terrain as well. Because I want to be able to snap it to that terrain. So let's merge that in. So that is the low quality one, but I can use that just for the height information since there's no gaps in it. The other one, if I go to the high quality one, has like some gaps and stuff here, which I'm not 100% sure why, but I think it has something to do with just it's like the edge of the map box tiling doesn't like perfectly line up, so it's close enough kind of thing. But I think I can just change this to an F and it'll switch over. There we go. All right, so I'll call this in height field. And let's go back over here. Is that the high quality one? I can't tell. No, it is not. Just so I can see it a little bit better. That's right. That's what I was going to do. So I was trying to draw when I was drawing the curves last time, I had it in this like ghosted mode, but I was like, I really wish I could have it in this state here. So obviously I could see it a bit better, as I'm going around and, drawing a curve on it. And obviously the easiest way to do this would be to set it to your, top viewport and, just move around and trace out this geometry and stuff like that. And I'm not sure if this will work in this setup or not, but let's see if it does. So, oh, that's right. They've got this new curve interface. It's funny. Like they add in so many things that I don't get to use. I don't use these things all the time, but this is really nice. The new interface that they built in here. So yeah, I'm pretty sure this is going to, I'm not going to be able to see this, from this angle. They're there. I can see that there's points there, but it's kind of hard to tell exactly where I am. So I think if I go to my guess is if I go to the bottom view, even though this will be, a reflected image of it, I have a feeling I'll be able to actually, oh, oops, didn't mean to delete that. Oh, I guess I just deleted that curve node. I didn't even mean to. All right, let's do that again. Yes. So unfortunately, the reason for this was, if you're curious, the reason is because it was elevated a little bit. And I was like, why is this not letting me see where I'm drawing? And it's because I was drawing underneath it, on the ground plane. So if I just flip it over and do it from the bottom, that should work too. So, all right, let's do this, and then I can project it onto the height field. So, all right, I'm gonna start from here, and wait a second. There we go. So yeah, the way that I was kind of doing this was just basically going around, adding points, like this. Nothing too exciting. Unfortunately, this is a pretty straightforward thing. I'm curious, does anybody else have any other, ways that they would maybe go about doing this, or a different, some different method that you could think of that would be something that would help you kind of, maybe automate this process a little bit more, or, just curious if anybody else has any experience with, something along the lines of this. I think this is a pretty brute force way to do it. I've tried to look for, a bunch of different, just different map information, track information. I wasn't able to find anything online anywhere, so that was kind of a dead end. But this seems like this is the most kind of straightforward way to do this. And I'm not being super, specific about these points here, just because it's going to be, you're going to be kind of close to it first of all, and I'm going to resample this as well to just smooth it out and stuff like that. So, I was thinking that I could do it with projection, like having it just attach right to the geometry, like having it project as I went along. But just since the this is such a large, piece of, land, and there's a lot of area here. I just felt like it was going to be kind of slow processing to have it do this, to do the whole outline while it's like projecting and stuff like that, like going around and tracing this all the way out. Like obviously this is pretty fast to be able to put these points down and kind of go around and, get all this stuff, kind of all outlined. But I figured slowing it down at all with like, I know in, what node is it that it'll let you do that, where you can draw right on it. I'm not sure if it's like, there's like a draw node or something like that, but there's one where it'll let you draw like right on the geometry. Does anybody know what node that is? I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I want to say it is like a draw node or something like that, like draw curve or something like that. And I know that one. One of them takes like a collision geometry type input, but I didn't want to use that here just because I figured it could be a little bit heavy with how large this is. I mean, these height fields and stuff like that are aren't huge, but they're certainly not small. So. The one thing I'm kind of curious, I've been like haven't really gotten around to yet is actually building these little curbs here in on the racetrack. Cause like, I'm like a little bit not sure exactly how I want to tackle that yet, because those are, they're unique to each track, I would say, to some extent. Like, first of all, like just with like colors and things like that, I don't think they always have them in exactly the same color, or at least there can be some variation to them. And what is going on there? Oh, that's just the that's just the gap. And I'm like, what is going on here? I saw this gray line coming through it. I'm like, is there something on this map that I'm like, why is that going right through the middle there? But yeah, these curbs right here, you can see the red and white curbs. They're sort of unique, but also they have a pretty similar, design to them. So I'm not exactly sure how I want to handle that. I think I want to set it up where I can like, just kind of do something similar to what I'm doing right now, just like drawing curves and then being able to define like the in and out of them, like how long they kind of come out. I could build a little ramp parameter to be able to do that. So like, that's something I'm thinking about as well. Also kind of thinking like, these are all, since they're all pretty similar, they're all like a blacktop pavement type thing. I was kind of like, what's the most efficient way to get these lines and things like that on the ground? Would it make sense to do it from, an image texture or something like that to define where these lines are and all that kind of stuff? I don't know if I don't know. Been kind of playing with that in my mind a little bit. I haven't really gotten to that stage yet. Obviously you can see there's been a lot of other, things that are kind of, in the meantime here. Also, my wife lost a bunch of data from her hard drive recently, which was a pain. Luckily, we had most of it backed up, but sometimes you don't immediately have everything backed up, and it was the stuff she was working on most recently. So pretty rough. Hate that kind of stuff, but that's, I guess, in our in this field of work, that's not the most uncommon thing. I'm sure everybody's lost some data from time to time. Well, this didn't take too long to get. Oh, speaking of data, saving there. Honestly, I'm terrible at remembering to save. I don't know why I'm so bad at it. So I like to have my autosave on. Unfortunately, like with a big project like this, it can get a little bulky, but much prefer the autosave to be on than having to to realize when I crash Houdini that I've lost a bunch of data. That's never a fun feeling. All right, I'm almost around the track here. Back to the start finish area here. Probably could be a little cleaner with this, but it's okay. It'll work. It's funny to see how big this track is. Like when you look at each of these like little gaps here, like the cars sit in these start finish spots, and it's like so gigantic compared to like, these are big cars, and they look so tiny. The spaces look so tiny on here. All right. I'll do one more in here just to... Yes, there we go. We got a curve. Look at that. How did you spend your night? I watched someone draw the outline of a racetrack. So, all right, let me grab some of this other stuff from the previous one that I had made, and I can start, cannibalizing some of my previous stuff that I had done here. So, yeah, resample here, convert line, outside track. There we go. I'll just grab some of these here. And what was I sorting from? Oh, okay, that was the offset for these polylofts. So I'm actually going to grab this whole section right here. Bring that in, because that is going to get me what I want. So let's drop this in here. Let's connect that in. Oh, wrong one. Over there. I was like, why is it outlining this random track over here? All right, we've got that part of it. Got a resample in here. I specifically went with a number of segments so that it would match up for the polyloft. That was kind of an important next step for it. I was using the polyloft to kind of bridge the two sides together and create just the track path or whatever. I guess I could have done something where I was doing like just one spline and adjusting the width parameter or something on it, but it felt like that was going to be too hard just since the shapes of the track changed so dramatically. So yeah, let's... Obviously I don't have anything for right here, so let me do the other side real quick here and shoot around and do that. All right, let's do it. So yeah, while I'm doing these sort of mundane steps, if anybody has any questions about this or like comments or anything like that, like please, drop them in chat. I'd love to hear, what you guys are thinking, or if you have any thoughts or suggestions. I say it most of the time when I'm streaming. I'm by no means any type of an expert on this stuff. I'm just a Houdini user who enjoys working in here. So yeah, if you guys have any suggestions or thoughts, love to hear them. why did I duplicate that? I'm not even thinking. Right. Actually, you know what I didn't even look at? I didn't look and see how that was smoothing out. It's looking pretty good. Is that not? That's strange. That's not subdividing. Not sure why that's doing it like that. Getting these hard edges. Huh. Oh, it must be because this is a Bezier curve? That must be what it is, right? Let me try converting that. That's really strange. I don't. All right, time to research this a little bit. Did I have the same issue over here and not even realize it? Or did I draw this better? It's possible. Let's see here. Let me hide the other stuff. Interesting. I'm not sure why that's doing that. Must be missing something here. Something obvious. What am I missing, guys? Let me know if you if you guys know what I'm missing here. Must be simple. Hey, thanks for the follow, Cosmo. It's got to be like a. Oh, you know what? I wonder if it is. If it's like a fusing thing or something. Let me look at this here. Oh yeah, there we go. Well, there's there's our answer. That doesn't look right. We got points on top of points. Let's see if that does it. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Luckily, these points are really far away. What in the world is going on? Did I just draw this really badly? There's only one point there now. Figure this out. Convert and then. Hmm. What is going on there? That is the craziest looking thing. Oh, I have it on. Oh, man. Well, you know, what are you going to do? It's an obvious problem, and it's solved now. I had it on interpolating curves. Of course I did. Let's see. Two. Yep, perfect. Much better. All right. I'm just going to move these over just so I've got these. There we go. All right. So we've got the outside of the track made. I've stopped, hopefully made my one boneheaded mistake of the evening, although that's probably unlikely. Yeah. So let's go over here and start getting another curve going. I don't know if any of you guys are from the Northeast, but I've just about had it with snow for the season. We've gotten just absolutely dumped on, and I'm just ready to be done with it, to be honest. Normally I don't care that much, but man, what a mess. And looking at this desert makes me just think of nice warm days. That's one thing that'll probably blow your mind. It doesn't snow 24 hours a day in Western New York. Probably would think that if you're not from here, but it doesn't. I'm still wide open to suggestions if anybody has a thought on how to automate this process a little bit more. I mean, it is certainly tedious, and I would love any suggestions. I've gone around, I've racked my brain in a few different ways, but nothing doing. Haven't figured anything out yet. So for this project, I haven't worked on it all that much recently, just because I've been streaming some other stuff. If you go back and check out, I've been Did a couple different snow related things. That's kind of snow's been on the brain a bit, and those were obviously really fun and cool to do. I did some of that stuff for work. Um, Work at a small studio called Deep Host in Buffalo, and yeah, we do commercial stuff. We're starting to get into a little bit of film and television. Oh, thanks for the follow. But yeah, so we've been doing a lot of snow stuff recently. A couple different winter themed projects. One that actually started right when the pandemic was first starting, and we haven't exactly been able to. We just were able to finish it up finally, and it was a really nice feeling to have it completed, because it was just something we were kind of just working on for fun in the background, and things kept popping up. So that's been nice to get out of the way. A huge snow simulation that maybe could warrant a breakdown at some point, but at this point I'm just happy to be done with it. But few 100 gigs or whatever, couple terabytes of snow simulations and things like that. Thank God for large servers and cheap storage space these days, because man, it was a lot of data. Part of the reason I couldn't finish it when we first started working from home for a while was I couldn't get all the terabytes of data to my house very easily. So I was just like, well, I guess that's on hold. I don't have a gigantic drive to take this, and then where am I going to put it at home and all that stuff. So hope you guys are all having a great evening tonight. Thanks for joining me. Oh, Jesus, gray line got me again. Thanks for joining us here. My name's Peter. Just glad to have you folks around for what I'm calling Houdini Hangout. And yeah, love to hear any comments, questions, thoughts you might have while I'm sitting here doing a super exciting job, the manual task of tracing a racetrack in Bahrain. Oh, that's the only thing. I feel like I want to be able to go back and adjust this. Is this? There we go. That's how to do it. Got it. Shoot. Like I said, I haven't used this tool very much. What is going on here? There we go. Weird. I didn't know I couldn't pick that back up. Also, if you guys have any suggestions for future streams, I'd love to hear it. Last week, we did some particle, simulation stuff, advection stuff from similar to what they did in the Foundation series titles, and it was a lot of fun. That was Crossfader was actually the one that suggested that, and ended up being a pretty cool thing. So if you go back and check that out, I think it's saved on Twitch for a little bit, but it's definitely on the YouTube channel. So you can check it out over there. That was from this past Friday actually, so had to delay it a little bit this past week. But yeah, that was a pretty cool project to go back and take a look at. But yeah, if you guys have any suggestions for future, things to do on the live stream, or even if you have questions about your own projects or anything like that, things that we could all kind of talk through, work on, happy to, take a break from whatever we're working on here and kind of switch over to things, things like, if you have troubleshooting stuff that you're trying to work through, that would be cool. Love to be able to help out a little bit. Kind of want to make this a place where, people can come and, share their ideas, get help with things that they're working on, any of that kind of stuff. So yeah, please feel free to drop it in chat if you're on Twitch or YouTube. There's some sort of vehicle right there. Didn't even notice that. Makes sense. I mean, it is a racetrack after all. The tedious part is almost over. See here. What are we looking? Okay, yeah. It is a little hard sometimes to tell what these features are, so. Yes, there we go. All right, now we got some nice smooth curves there, it looks like, as well. Yep, looking good. Might need to go a little higher on that. It feels a little bit coarse. Curves, there we go. Let's try 4,000. Yeah, it seems a little bit more appropriate. So we'll do 4,000 for each of those. I actually don't think that this is a necessary step of converting it to a line, but let's see. Okay, so what's going on here is we're resampling this. For some reason, I had converted it to a line. That might be necessary to be able to polyloft it. I can't remember. It's been a. Oh, cool, great. Thanks for joining us. Wow, you just woke up. Are you? I'm in the Eastern time zone here, so it's I'm getting closer to bedtime. So you must be way over across the ocean, because or you just wake up late. I guess either one of those things is totally possible, right? I was there in college one day, or back in the day. All right. So, anyways, we so this converts it. I grouped it outside inside. That'll help down here in these polyloft steps. Merge them together. Then here in the polyloft, got them all connected. And the reason I had set this sort right here was in a shift for the point sort. Oh, awesome! You're in the Middle East. That's crazy. This is Bahrain right here, tracking Bahrain. So I guess that's Middle East as well. So yeah, good morning to you from the other side of the earth. Yeah, thanks for joining us. So the polyloft had, if you don't have this sort in here, it can get a little goofy and trying to trying to connect these two edges here. And so with the sort in, you're able to kind of shift these edges around and get them to a place where they kind of overlap in a more convenient way. So what I'm doing right here is just simply putting a sort points, point order shift on the outside points here, and just changing their point numbers here. If we can kind of visualize it here and see that shift it. And so when we get to this point here, it just makes one little block that's open, and I put a polyfill in here just to cap that off, create our nice solid chunk of blacktop here. For the divide stop, why did I do this one? I don't even remember why I had this one in here. Right. So for this, I wanted to try to divide it up a little bit so that it wasn't just the two sides of the track that was getting moved to the terrain. So in this case, I'm just adding in extra points here so that it can have a little bit more resolution to it. So that we could when I go to ray the points to the geometry here, the underlying terrain geometry, it'll be able to kind of adjust a little bit when there's maybe hills or things like that. So it's not just the two sides that are trying to match up. All right, so let me go back into my perspective view from the bottom view here, move around, and I just basically moved that up a bit so that it was closer to the, so it was above the geometry. So here, we'll just move this all the way up like so. So now this is all sitting above the geometry nicely. And I'm just going to go back one more time here to my track from Qatar, or Qatar, however you say that. And so, yeah, the really pretty straightforward thing I did was just array, using array nodes. So here, I'll just drop one in there. It's nothing to do anything too crazy there. So I've got the height field right here. I want to use that. That's coming in from my map data that I created, and we talked about a little earlier. So for this, I'm just going to drop down array node and grab my points here, and I'm going to grab the collision primitives like so. And nothing happens yet. Well, at least I don't think it will, because we want to project it, and right now it's projecting it from the normal attribute on this geometry, and the geometry doesn't have a normal attribute because I just drew it from a couple curves. So what I'm going to do instead is go to vector, just delete this channel here, and ray it in the -1 y direction, and there we go. Now it comes down and snaps to the terrain here around the track. So now if I hide, let's see if I maybe ghost this stuff here, or I can just hide it. We can see that my track is ever so slightly moving to the terrain here a little bit, kind of going up and down. This is a fairly flat track. I'll say that 5 times fast. But, it's getting a little bit of the underlying terrain data. Unfortunately, the terrain data isn't super, super high, resolution as far as like, globally, I don't think there's anything really higher than like 1 meter resolution. So it's a little bit coarse. It's going to be a little, bumpy and stuff like that. You could smooth it out, as well. But this track should now more or less be, lined up to the terrain. And you can see, it is definitely undulating a little bit there. Not severely, but if we look at it in our like 4 views here, we can probably see, there you go. You can see how it's, changing in elevation over time right there. So, So the neat thing is that this is just a height field, right? It's just a 2D volumetric height field. And that's able to be used as a collision primitive in the ray node. So kind of a nice thing to be able to use something like that, and it's not super heavy. I mean, it's a couple million voxels, but yeah. So there we go. We've got the track built for this one. That's looking good. Let me just see kind of where I went next with this. Yeah, I just looks like I poly extruded it and did a few things there. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Actually, what I will use instead of the poly extrude, I think I'm going to use the thicken, the lab node thicken, which is pretty nice. It's a nice little node that they've added in here. Let me get out of 4 views so we can see what's going on here. So this should add some thickness to our geometry. And if I look at the height field here, or I can just turn on my other objects. Oh, look at that. It's going down. Let me see here. I should set... You know what? I'm actually going to set my normals just so that this has actual good normals to it. So let's do that real quick. So here at the transform step, where it's, well, that's way up there. I'm just going to go and set some normals here. So let's just do, I'm just going to do a point. Do a point wrangle here. Just do v at n equals, and we'll just do 0, 1. Like so. We should have some normals now. There we go. And then I believe in this node we can transform points. Just looking to see if there's a recalculation on the normal. No, that's okay. Should be fine. Let me see if I can do the thicken here, if that'll work now. Huh. That's weird that it's doing it down, but I guess it makes sense going the other way from it. But what I'll do is I'll just do it in both directions instead, and that should give us an up and a down direction. And see if this, just want to make sure that, oh yeah, actually that's even better. So we're just going to ignore that. Yeah, there you go. That's how you write a normal. Oh, Crossfader, thanks for sharing it. I appreciate that. So yeah, these labs nodes are really, really nice. This thicken is one of them, but if you're not using side effects labs yet, please get it. It is so nice. It's really simple to install here. Just go side effects labs, and you'll get this little update tool set icon right here, and you just load it up and go. And it is really nice. You can uncheck your production builds, and looks like I actually need to update anyways. Have to do that later, but super, super nice. They've got a ton of tools in here. They're always like upgrading them and changing them. I mean, if you do anything with game dev, there's a lot of stuff in here, different, Unreal Engine stuff, which is, obviously a lot of people have been working in recently. Just different like integrations and things like that. If you look back earlier in the stream, you'll even see stuff that I was doing with Mapbox, which is where all this map data came from. Super, super helpful stuff. And yeah, download it, get it set up. It's killer. Really good stuff. All right. Well, we've got our... Oh, what do we got here? We got an error. That is interesting. I've never seen that one before. Yeah, look at me talking up. Well, that might actually close out the program for me. And I was actually going to, yeah, it is. I was actually going to take a coffee break anyway. So it's like the computer knew what I wanted to do. So I am going to take a quick coffee break, get myself something, have a evening warm beverage, along with JP there, and have his morning coffee. So yeah, I will be back shortly. And yeah, thanks for joining us. See ya in a couple minutes. All right, everybody, we are back. We have coffee, decaf, and we are ready to roll. Yeah, decaf might be a little, could be a little bit of a pointless drink, but I like a warm beverage, especially when it's super snowy out. So, all right. So fun fact while while you were gone, my labs just randomly decided to not be there when I reopened the program after it crashed. So I reinstalled it, and we're all good. And now I'm up to date. So hey, or maybe not. I don't know. It says 511. I don't know why it's saying that, but anyways, it's working. So here we go. Yeah. So this thicken. Or not. Let's see. Nope. Makes a liar out of me right away. Man. Yeah. Cool. That's a cool crash. Let's get this out of here. Bye. I teach some like really basic course stuff at a local college, and I tell my students all the time, like, this program is just makes these programs make me a liar every time I try to show you anything, because they'll be like, oh yeah, here's how you do it, and like it crashes or it does something totally different than what I expected. So anyways, craziness. Yeah, see, look at that. That's the exact same thing that happened last time. Interesting. Interesting. Well, let's try this. It will require another restart, so please bear with me while I update my tools here. It's funny. I've had this computer for several years now, and I have not ever updated the background. I've never even. I always think about it like, oh, I should update the background. Never do. Pretty boring. All right, let's open this again. Going to remove this question mark. I'm not going to open up that installer again. That is 100% for sure. Will not be touching that. All right, let's let this project open. Yeah, usually I open up this before I start streaming, because it's a little bit of a heavy project right now. So unfortunately, but I knew that. I knew that going in. All right, get that out of there. Go back here. Okay, we're working. I'm not touching anything. All right, so this thicken will do kind of exactly what it sounds like. I'm going to hide this real quick here. We can see, obviously, we just have a plane, a plane of geometry. Now, granted, it's not just simply a plane, but we just have flat geometry here all the way around. And when I go to the thicken, it goes, in this case, goes from the middle because I have both directions selected. So I can go probably a little bigger than that. Let's do 0.25. That looks pretty good. Let me turn the ground back on. Yep, there's our geometry there. Yeah, looking pretty good. And let me see if there's any kind of yeah, unfortunately I don't have it's not giving me any edge options here. Let me see what since I put these into groups earlier, I should be able to maybe grab those. So I set an outside track, inside track, edge group. Let me see if that comes through. I'm going to ghost that just so we can see it a little bit. Let's see if those groups are still here. No, it looks like they're only on some of this geometry down here. Does not look like it is on anything else other than that. All right, that is fine. See if I can do a. Well, that's kind of an interesting spot right there. We've got some like overlapping geometry right there. Huh. That is interesting. That's coming from this polyloft, possibly. Oop, goodbye. No, it's coming from when I'm raying it. That's what's happening there. It looks like it's overlapping a little bit there. Sorry. Whew. Hard to navigate when it jumps that far. Interesting. Got a little bit of like overlapping geometry there. Hmm. Well, that doesn't work. Minimum distance. I was just thinking maybe if I change the mode in the ray. No. Anyways, so we've got thicken here. Let's do a selection here and see if we can't go into edge mode. See if we can. No, this isn't going to give us any edges, is it? Oh, that's too bad. What I can do instead. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter. Not the end of the world. I am going to just fuse some of this geometry real quick first, I think, before I do this thicken step. So I'm going to take this, just make sure these are all fused together because it looks like there's like just a bunch of kind of overlapping points and things like that that are happening. So that'll just help clean this up a little bit. So I'm going to do a fuse here. This might not be the best way of doing this, but just something I'm just trying to think on the fly here a little bit. So I'm gonna do this maybe a tenth of a meter. It's a pretty big geometry. If we look here, where's my scale? Sorry, try not to make you dizzy here. There's my axes. It's probably down. Where is it? There it is. Just trying to find it. Yeah, so I mean these are how many meters across, so setting it to a tenth of a meter is a pretty small scale for something like this. All right, that should probably be better than if we do the thicken now. Hopefully that's a little bit cleaner. There's not so much weird overlapping stuff going on. In fact, I could probably up this to a half meter. Call it good. No, it's doing some weird stuff here. I don't like what that's doing. Okay, we'll call that good. All right, so let me see if I can do a poly bevel. I just want to bevel these edges just a little bit, just round these edges so they're not like all sharp. See if that'll work. All right, so I'm gonna just go to my exclusions. I'm gonna ignore flat edges, and I'm not gonna set this into. Just set this back to its default. There we go. All right, so we're ignoring our flat edges. Let's do, gosh, I don't know, 45 degrees just to make sure it doesn't get anything. That's gonna be a little angry at me. There we go. Great, and we can just add a couple divisions here just to kind of round off that edge a little bit. Just don't want to be like, oh, that's weird looking. That's interesting. That is some interesting stuff going on there. Oh, that's from right. That's from me doing this bricker. Hmm. Yeah, that's certainly not the cleanest way to do that. What I really should do is do these all 100% even with these and not have it like well. So the tricky part with this is that I was trying to when I was originally trying to do this, this polyloft right here at this step and kind of connect the two edges together. Um, the trouble you run into obviously here with these curves is that you've got to kind of have these all connecting out like this and then switching kind of as they go back and forth, like the outside on this curve needs more points connected to fewer points on this side here. So it's a tricky weird issue to like make it perfectly one to one, like so that they're all like even in quads. So yeah, I'd like to ultimately have uh like loop cuts. Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't treat edges like first class citizens. You're right. It definitely kind of it's like yeah, they're like these like weird ugly stepchildren, right? Um yeah, it is a strange thing. I think it's because um I think it's because they already have like so many like you can almost have edges as polygons, right? Like so up here, like when I was looking at this like resample or here even convert line, right? So in this case here, let me just hide this. So when you look at this, right, I have not only do I have this is one it's an edge selected here, but it's also technically counting as um as a what do you call it? A primitive, right? So it's kind of weird because they've got these primitives, and primitives are are kind of edges, but they're also kind of polygons. It's like I think because they have so many different ways to like store the data that the edges kind of get like shoved to the side a little bit. Yeah, primitives exactly. Yeah. So I think it's because of that. I think because they have so many, different, they have primitives and polygons, right? And so there's already so many different ways that you can um, reference these things that the edges just kind of becomes almost like sort of redundant sometimes. So I think that's why they kind of get shuffled off to the side. I wish I had a better answer for that. Certainly would be something to ask the developers, I guess, right? Um, but yeah, there's a lot of um, like in Vex, there's a lot of edge functions and things like that um, I don't even touch half the time, but I feel like they would be yeah. Yeah, no problem. No problem. Yeah, I'm happy to talk about whatever, have these conversations. But yeah, I think it definitely is interesting because I come from, my background is cinema, 4D, and for that, I mean, edges are, you know, way more useful and important and stuff like that. So, um from that standpoint, yeah, it definitely is odd that it doesn't translate really. So I've caught guys in our office, we use both. I am the only Houdini user in our office, but we have people that use Cinema 4D still a lot, and we'll have conversations and I'll call things primitives or polygons. Sometimes when I'll call things primitives when I'm really meaning polygons, but I'm also kind of meaning edges in like a curve sense. So it's always hard to kind of translate. It's just a totally different world. So yeah, that is an interesting observation and one I've definitely noticed. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I go back and forth between calling them both. So sometimes I'm like, man, I must be saying this totally wrong. So it's good to have you with us tonight, Cosmo. I'm glad you signed up. Hopefully we'll see you hanging out, next week too as well, or whenever you get a chance to next. I'm glad you could join us. Yeah, so let's see here. Oh, you mean Houdini and C4D? Cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, I think it's a pretty common path. I think because Cinema 4D is so procedural already. I think that becomes a really a really common way for people to kind of find Houdini then, and see some of those. It really adds in the simulation stuff into the procedural kind of workflow that you might be used to, and doing stuff in MoGraph, for example, in in cinema. But I'm spoiled now with Houdini. Like when I go to do something quick in cinema or something, just try to do something fast, I'll always hit these barriers, and I'm like, I could have just done this in Houdini and probably been done quicker at this point, because I hit some weird barrier that feels like arbitrary, and like just I don't even know why it's there. But anyways, um yeah, so we've got this track path kind of made here. That's looking pretty good. um let me think what's the next thing I was going to go on and do here. um yeah, I'm just trying to see. So I don't actually have any of the race data for this yet. I haven't downloaded it yet, but yeah, so I can't bring that in quite yet. Um well, you know what? Let me see if I can. Let's just go for it. I'll open up my code, Visual Studio Code here. Um right. Let's see. Let's see if this works still. I haven't used this in a little bit. There we go. 2021 Bahrain. Let's try it. See what happens. I would try to walk you through this Python code, but it is I'm still learning it, and I don't know if I know it well enough to be able to explain it. So I talked about it a little bit earlier on the stream, but basically you can see down here it's printing out different driver numbers and things like that for me, just so I know that it's doing something. So, all right, let me make sure that we've got this data. Let's see here. Highly recommend learning Python if you want to do anything with data on online or wherever. I mean, it was one of the guys at work started getting me into it, and I was like, I was a little scared at first because it seemed it's so different than like, really the only coding experience I had was Vex, which is, I guess, some variation of C plus, I think, or C or something. And so it just looked so different from that. And so it was a little scary to get into it first, but now not so bad. But it's also been couple months since I've looked at that. So let's see here. Bahrain. Great. Everything's there. Okay, so let's load this in and start messing around with it a little here. So this is going to be map data. This is going to be track geo. And I'm going to make another one down here. Starting to get a little out of control. Maybe I should have done these in different projects. No, that would have been annoying. So I'll call this, oops. All right. All right, let me grab some of these things in here. So, this will be the important stuff for me to grab first and foremost. So I'm going to grab this for each loop here. And I will talk through what this does as best I can remember, because it's been a couple months, like I said. All All right, so this specifically is data from a different Grand Prix. And so let me load in the one that I just downloaded here. So let me go to up, Bahrain. Which one is this supposed to be? Q, yep, qualifying. And then I want to do results right there. Okay, cool. So if you haven't used, yeah, sorry, I didn't see your message there. Yeah, I definitely think Python is worth it. So let me just, since you're asking if it's worth it or not, let me just open this up real quick and I'll just explain what this is doing here. So first of all, there's like all these modules here, which is a little like takes you a little bit of time to kind of get used to and like understand what it's doing. But like that little, I learned Python starting in December, and with this I was able to like make, pretty quickly was able to make this little like downloader thing, and I've got this that opens up and it reads out, so I select what year it is, like 2017, and it changes all of the, well, I didn't download that in another one yet, but this gives me all the different races that were for this year. Like it's all like, it's complicated, but it's also like pretty accessible from that standpoint. So like what we're doing here is I'm using different is it modules? I don't know what the word is for it. What are these called? Yeah, modules. I still don't even know the terminology. And some people put together a module that actually downloads the Formula One data from the races and gives you like all this telemetry and stuff like that. Libraries is, I think it may be another word for it. I'm just going off of what they say here, but yeah, libraries, I guess is a probably also a word that people use for it. But so there's a whole library that pulls all these things in and uses, multiple different things. So like there's one called pandas. There's one called, what's the other one? NumPy, which is like, I think like a math one, and date time, was one that I could use to like make, do conversions in dates and times and things like that. So basically I can really easily with just a few, lines of codes and some for loops, like conceptually it works, the concept of the data science side of it, or the computer science side of it, is like very conceptually similar to what you would do in Vex or whatever. It's just learning the syntax really. And the biggest hang up for me was these little like dot, get telemetry here, but really all it's saying is use this variable right here, fast lap, and get the telemetry from it, get the car data, get the position data, stuff like that. And then it saves those all into these different other variables here. You don't have to define the variable as like that's like a hang up too. Like you don't have to define a variable as an integer or a vector or a float or anything like that, like you do in Vex or that type of coding. So it's a little bit, it's in some ways more user-friendly from that standpoint, because you don't have to be thinking about like, oh shoot, did I already say that this was a vector? I guess it actually is going to be a float or something, something like that. I mean, not that would happen all that often, but things like that. So I think all the way up to, I think all the data actually gets, I think all of the data goes just in this loop right here, download telemetry. So I made a function, download telemetry, and that is literally that whole, it gets all this data just from this one little block right here. So it's not too bad, honestly. I kind of took it just like one little snippet at a time, and since there's so much documentation online, highly recommend. Anyways, there you go. There's my little breakdown of what I've learned, what I learned on my Christmas break on Python. Anyway, so I've got CSVs that all wrote out, that function wrote out all these different CSVs for me. So I've got, the results from the race right here, and it tells me what driver and all these different things, what team they're on and things like that. And this is all just from a module that somebody made. It's insane, like absolutely insane, or a library that someone made. So I'm pulling in the driver number, driver name, and the team from that. And I'm using just numbered columns here. These are integer, string. So those are coming in. I know that there are 20 drivers in Formula One, and luckily there's 20 unconnected points here that I'm going to do a for loop over. And then the other table I'm going to bring in is this one right here. And this is each of this one basically is going to be each of like this is going to be the data from each of the drivers basically. So now if I look at this, I actually wonder now that I'm starting to say this, I wonder if I go down here, just reset this, if this is gonna, or no, if I reload this maybe. But one for each begin. Oh, that's the problem. That's the issue. It's calling that for some reason. That's weird. All right. So if I pull this into here, now what are we doing here, guys? Let's see. Nope. All right. So let me break down what's going on in here. Oh, that's why. I didn't even. Well, I guess I should probably do that. That is necessary. But I have this saved in here as cutter. So let me change that to be. Oh no, I've got some spaces in here. That might cause an issue, but we'll see. Hopefully not. What's the folder name here? Bahrain Grand Prix. Fortunately, these all have there's all so many different names and stuff to keep track of. Let's see if that'll work. Oh, it updated and I didn't even I didn't even realize it. Yeah, there's the shape right there. Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, we're getting somewhere now. So you can see that there is the there's the shape of the track that was drawn out by the driver. So now this is actually the driver data that's coming in here. So if we look at each of these in our geometry spreadsheets, you can see that, okay, this one is Red Bull. This is Max Verstappen. We can keep going down. You can see all the different driver names here. This is this is Leclerc. You know, all different people, different drivers and things like that. And we've got all of our data coming in for each of those points. So that's all looking good. Let's look at so there's all of our, telemetry points right there. Some of them get interpolated from their data, so they're not super clean, but yeah. Okay. So that is the driver data. So let me go here and go back and keep, oops, that's the wrong one. Lap data. Let's keep cannibalizing some of these things that we did here. So the transform that I did here should actually set it onto the map data. Now this is the wrong map, but yeah, so I'm going to do that. I'm just going to try to fit it as best I can using this transform node. So unfortunately, this is the manual part of it. I was actually on their GitHub talking to the guy that had put together the what do you call it, the library for this to source this data, and I was like, where do you think these positions are referenced to? Because if I could know what the reference position is for all of this data, I could just say scale it and set it to this point and blah blah blah. But he was like, I think it's just arbitrary. I don't think there's like a set point. I mean, there might be one, but it's not like a set thing like for them. Like it's obviously using some sort of GPS transmission type thing and sensors on the cars, but we couldn't find any documentation that would like say, oh, here's how you lock this to latitude and longitude coordinates. So unfortunately, this part of it is a manual step. So the one thing I like to use with so obviously we could just resize it from origin, but instead, to make this maybe a little easier, I'm going to use the presets that came in here. I'm pretty sure these come from QLib. So I'm going to transform by the centroid and just use that to kind of adjust this. And I'm going to look at this in the top view just so I can see exactly what's going on. I might also raise this up just so it's over the over top of the geometry. Yep, so I can see it. Cool. So this is going to need to scale down. And yeah, unfortunately, like I said, this is a little bit of a manual task. It's not the nothing automated here, but you know, it's going to be, it's close, but it's certainly not perfect. The other thing that's a little tricky about working with this data is that um, you know it's the actual path of the cars, right? So it's cutting these apexes and all these different things here, so it gets really really close to like exactly like what you would expect, but you know, like, okay, yeah, that, like, oh wow, that's really the line you're taking. Okay, like it's kind of fascinating to look at it because you're like, oh okay, this is like, these are the lines these guys are taking. It's kind of wild. Oh, that's starting to line up pretty well. Yeah, this is unfortunately, like I said, just a super super manual task. Although it's, oh man, that is darn close to a tenth. I wonder if that is. Oh, no, I'm not going to do it that small. Seems right. Probably just get this close enough and just call it good for for today, so we're not sitting here. Yeah, see, this is the part where I'm, you know, a little uncertain of what exactly to do here, and I think there'll be some fudging that has to happen with some of these things. But like I get this corner here like nice and, you know, nice and close, and then, you know, you come to some of these other ones and it's like, oh yeah, that looks pretty good. But then you come to the other side here and it's like, well, obviously they're not flying over that curb there. So it's definitely, you know, a finesse game here. So um, kind of just playing with it, I guess, until you get it to a spot where it feels like it fits pretty well. Yeah, that's feeling pretty good. I'm gonna call that for right now. That's looking pretty good. But it's just again, this is just crazy. Like literally, this telemetry is from, I think, the Formula One website, and somebody literally wrote a Python library to. I think they must save it all live, or I don't know. The whole thing is insane because it's just, yeah, it looks close. It looks close enough to me. I mean, I could get in here and nitpick and be like, well, that's still not right, and you know, that's probably too wide. They're probably not hitting that curb there, but you know, whatever. I'm being silly probably at this point. It's good. So so now the thing. So I'm just gonna say fit to track there, and let's look at what else I got going here. Okay, so then I did a very similar thing to what I did with the track. Yeah, GPS tracking for each driver, right? Yeah, it's insane. I wish I had the I wish I had the actual GPS coordinates, cuz when you look at these they're, I can show you real quick. I'll pull one up. So like for example, this is oh gosh, who's 3? I can't think of who 3 is right now. Oh, it's Ricardo, right? I think. Maybe not. Anyways, yeah. So like, here's their positions, right? XYZ positions, right? So obviously that's not like matching up to anything in a GPS, you know, world. So it's too bad. Like I really wish it did, but it's obviously like, you know, not perfectly matching up to anything. So Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, the data that they have for those things is absolutely insane. It's like some sort of like fighter jet level stuff. It's crazy. Um, cool. So that's there. So we're gonna array that, resample it, and then I've got a little smooth. Yeah. Let me just copy the rest of this in here, and I'll just keep playing with this. All right. So I'm gonna object merge in the terrain again, the Bahrain terrain. It's fun. Fun English, at least. That's fun. Terrain height field. There we go. And let's see here. So it's probably, let's look at this in perspective. Let's see here. I'll use that and I'll just, yeah, that looks good. Looks like it's fitting right to it. Nice. And so, okay, so I resampled it here just to, kind of get a cleaner, set of points and, interpolate in between those values and stuff like that. Luckily, it takes, where they have maybe, like let's just look at it like this. Like, maybe there's only a couple time slices in here. Obviously, doing this resample is going to give us, a lot more, like point, sources of information here that we can then, move these cars along at the end of this network here. So I think I used this to just smooth them, just make sure that they weren't so noisy because they were kind of a little bit just all over the place. Now, you can see there's where we started from, and there they are smoothed out a bit. So, so that helps a little bit. I also did an orientation along curve just to make sure I could get good up vectors and things like that, and tangents facing forward and stuff like that. So let's see, what is this writing up? This writing out. This is writing out up normal and doing an orient quaternion. And we use that at the end to orient the cars on these paths. So this node right there, why did I do it that way? Oh, because I need an attribute to know where to cut this, where to cut the curve. So I basically just put in the time here and just saved that to cut time. And I might have been able to actually set might have been able to set that a different way, but that just was an easy enough way to do this. So now we're just getting 1 point at each of those time slices. So now this should actually show the cars moving around the track here. Yeah. We're getting there. It's just so crazy. It's fun. So yeah, so they're all moving around, so that's looking good. Oh, that's right. There was I don't need this. This was one of the drivers had some in the race that I was doing originally. His like car was like literally like it was like totally wrong. The data was completely wrong for it. So I just deleted him out of there. I was like, I don't want to deal with it. But I don't need to delete him anymore. What was I doing here? Isn't it funny to open up projects that you worked on even just like a couple weeks ago and you're like, what in the world was I doing? Um yes. Okay. I think this was this was converting That's right. This was converting hexadecimal um, color for the teams. Yes, that's right. Yesterday, yeah. I mean, same thing. I think yeah. What was I doing yesterday? Yeah. It's exactly. It's the same thing. You step away from a day and you're like, what was I doing? Like I hate opening projects like from like I don't know, uh like years ago, because you look at those and you're like, did I know anything then? And obviously the answer was no, but it's just funny. So anyways, what this is doing is taking the hexadecimal values of each of the teams and converting them into RGB values that I could use to drive a CD attribute. So there was this right here, which is the team colors, and yeah, it converted all those team colors, and it was basically just going through that. I Gosh, I don't remember. I don't remember doing that, but I'm sure there was a reason for it. Um, so then, yeah, I was looking up the taking the current team, asset team, and basically setting CD to the team colors from the dictionary. Um, you know, like so a dictionary is it's like an array on I don't know, on drugs. It's like crazy. There's like I forget exactly how you define it, but there's like a key and a value each for each like entry in it basically, and that allows you to basically call something like this like current team and then get the color data for it without having to do like multiple things, like multiple steps with it or whatever. But yeah. So track distance, I was doing, track distance. So that I was doing to help do this right here, finding the lead position of who was in front, but that's not super important right now because I'm still trying to figure out, that's something I'm still gonna have to figure out, is how I want the cameras to like follow it exactly. But so yeah, I think this car position was this is all the position for the cars. And then down here, I've got a copy to points. And this is basically just taking all that stuff I set up, the CD, the orientation of it, all that kind of stuff, and copying this car geometry onto it. So I found this. This was a McLaren car, Formula One car. I think it was this current season. It was like the only one I could find online that was free from the current season, which, I'm doing this for fun. So I was like, well, hopefully I can find a free one somewhere. But eventually I'll probably end up, once I get this whole thing done, I'll probably end up buying someone's model pack or something that they've put time into. But this is specifically the McLaren, and if you watch enough Formula One, you probably know that even without the colors on it, because they all are shaped a little bit differently. But so I just transformed it a little bit so it was in the right position here, and then used copy to points. And when you do that, you get all of the positional data with the cars like this, and they start. Let's see. Let's zoom out here. Let me see these curve, and there we go. Yep, there they all are. So yeah, I do know about match size. Yeah. Yes, I've used that before. What Crossfader? What are you referring to using it in? Specifically with the track, like matching up the track size. Is that what you were thinking of? Yeah, no problem, JP. I'm glad to have you with us today. Um, yeah, thanks JP for joining us. I really appreciate it. And yeah, feel free. I'm getting close to being done anyways. It's 10:15 out my way. So Yeah, that makes sense. You're saying instead of using like a transform to transform it there. Um yeah, I was just yep, I'll see you later, JP. Hopefully we'll catch you again soon. Um yeah, I was just using these presets here in the transform node. And yeah, the match size is another great node. That's a great point. You could use the same thing here if you don't have those set up. You can do match size for this. And where did it go? There it is. Yeah, and so you can just justify Y to, I believe it's min, like that. And you can do that, and then it'll center. And so not only is it centering it in both axes, but it is dropping it right onto the floor. So yeah, I did just learn about that not too many months ago or whatever. I think for me, I'm just so used to using just like a transform and doing that kind of like stuff that I just totally I'm just used to it and I wasn't thinking. So yeah, that is a great little piece of advice. Um the other thing I thought you might have been referring to was when you yeah, it's a great node. Was when you were talking about matching the orientation of the track together, but unfortunately, because I did use that as a starting point at one junction of creating this, but because they take the turns at a different kind of at different apexes and things like that, it's hard to get them to fit together. Yeah, he does. I think that was actually where I think Paul Estevez was. Um, I think it was like a video I saw on Twitter of that, and I was like, oh, well, I guess I should have known more about that node. But yeah, his stuff is great. Even just like his little quick videos are just killer, absolutely amazing. Where are the cars? There they are. Let's see here. I'm just gonna pull up the. It's so funny to see them like from this distance. They're so tiny. But yeah, so like when we look at in this curve here, we can see all the cars there on their in position, going around on the track there. And yeah, it's pretty interesting. Pretty cool that you can get all this data just from that alone. um and yeah, if you know anything about Formula One, like some of you guys sound like you do, you can tell that just from the color there, that's Max Verstappen probably in front. um and yeah, yeah, that's what I have going on right now with this camera here. It does actually follow. I think it. Yeah, I have it. Yeah, I've got it goofy the way I have it set up right now. I gotta make it better. But yeah, probably using chops would be probably the smartest way to do that. I think. Um, right? I would think that's probably the best way of going about doing something like that. Um, I'm thinking like I'm thinking I want it to be from the front so you can see everybody behind, like this, honestly, because like this is kind of the most interesting view, I think, like to see something like this where it like yeah, chops. So like where you would see the distance of like people behind it and stuff like that, like as they're coming around, the different parts of the track and stuff like that. But yeah, it's so yeah, this is I hopefully this is a fun, an interesting thing to see and just like understand maybe some of these details. I'm actually surprised we're able to get that far with everything up to this point, but um yeah, I don't know. Does anybody else have any questions or comments or thoughts or anything like that? Like to share anything um you know, hey, here's a good tip or anything like that before we maybe wrap up for the evening here, since it's getting to be almost 10:30 my time. I don't know if anybody has any closing closing thoughts. I'll put this in here just to kind of sort these together. I got to come up with a better sorting scheme for these. Cool. Well, I think that is where I'm going to end it for the evening. Hopefully, that was a an interesting look into some different aspects of Houdini. Yeah, of course, man. I'll be. My plan is to stream every week, so any suggestions for future streams are always welcome. I'll probably be putting up little polls here and there to see what people are interested in messing around with for the evening. But yeah, probably over this weekend I'm gonna probably be working on this some more and just kind of just like a really chill stream where I'm not like trying to explain anything specific, but just kind of like hanging out and working on stuff or whatever. So probably just be pretty casual about it. But yeah, every Tuesday night, Vellum. Yes, Vellum is fun. I don't know if anybody saw the current. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. I'm guessing if you follow everything that Side Effects is doing, but I'll grab this and throw it in chat. This is an amazing series of tutorials that a guy did for, I want to say for the H19 release. He did a whole series of tutorials and things like that, and there's a ton of like vellum in there and rigid bodies, and I mean Solaris. Everything it's like a absolutely mind-boggling number of like different tutorials that he put together for it. Yeah, check that out if you're interested in any kind of the newer vellum stuff. But I think he did some of the new vellum fluids in there. A couple other things, but pretty neat stuff. Yeah. For sure. I'm yeah, it is absolutely packed. It's crazy how many different tutorials are in there. So yeah, check it out. But yeah, vellum, cool. I'll keep that in mind. Whatever, maybe if I come across something that seems interesting, I'll maybe do a stream on one of those, or we'll play around with some vellum stuff, maybe just screw around with it. But yeah, vellum is nice because it feels really accessible because it's basically like a particle sim, and it's kind of a nice entry point for doing simulations and things like that. It's not like a fluid sim or something like that where you've got all this crazy stuff going on. It's a little bit more self-contained, a little bit more understandable, digestible. So cool. Well, thank you all for joining me on Tuesday night here. I'm calling this Houdini Hangout, and glad to have you guys all here and chatting, and just good to have some conversation with people about Houdini. I greatly appreciate all the comments and hearing from everybody. So yeah, keep an eye out on Twitter. Houdini Hangout on Twitter is where I'll mostly be posting, next time I'm streaming, things like that, polls for what people are interested in. And yeah, if you're interested, next week, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard, we'll be doing this. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining me tonight. And yeah, we'll see you soon. See you everybody. Good night.